Welcome in on episode 94 in the KIPS Podcast. My name is Tyler Valencia, and I'm the president of KIPS and Time to Train Fitness. Even saying 94, getting pretty close to that 100 episode mark, and it's pretty exciting when I think back to the episodes that all 93 of them prior, and I just recorded another one yesterday. So pretty exciting that we're approaching that 100 episode mark, and it's really evolved in terms of guests, content, how it's created, all of those things. And to be honest, I'm even working on another starting a podcast fast tutorial for listeners out there that have thought about it, because I think it's a fantastic tool for a small business, for fitness professionals to reach your audience and let them hear your knowledge in certain areas. So I'm getting a little off topic there, but this episode is going to be about letting YouTube find your audience. That's a big one. But before we get to it, thank you as always for being a listener, a fan of the KIPS podcast. Without people listening, sharing this podcast, I wouldn't be doing it, and it wouldn't be growing like it is now. If you ever miss part of this episode, make sure you go listen to the rest of it on YouTube. Subscribe while you're there as we continue to grow our YouTube channel. Now, if you have been listening to the KIPS podcast for any bit of time, you'll know that I'm a big fan of YouTube. I'm a big fan of what it can do for health, wellness, fitness professionals at all levels in terms of creating content, growing your audience, but also being able to connect and create a community. I think there's a lot of pieces in there that can help all professionals. So with this episode's kind of some practice. In the very near future, I'm going to be putting together some Facebook Lives within the KIPS Facebook group. So if you don't know about that, head over to our KIPS Facebook page and look for the private group. It's called Fitness Plus, and it's one of those groups that you will need to ask for permission to enter, but it's just making sure that there's no spam, people trying to spam a group with sales posts and all that kind of stuff. But with this group and inside there, I'm going to be doing some Facebook Lives around YouTube, just sharing some demographics, sharing some knowledge. So this episode is kind of some practice as I'm gearing up for those Facebook Lives, but also the conference I'm going to be speaking at the end of October in Nashville. And at the conference, I do have a session on YouTube. So gathering these new ideas, new topics, and how I want to get it presented to other health, wellness, and fitness professionals. So this episode, who is going to be interested in this episode? If you're listening and you get to this point, you're like, is this for me? Is YouTube even for me? As I say, you can take YouTube however you want to. You don't have to fully commit to it, make that your full business. You can use it in different ways. If you were wondering how YouTube can help your business and you're wondering, does my audience fit in there? This is an episode for you. If you are in the early stages of YouTube, this is probably a great episode for you as well. So listen in, and maybe even if you're not one of those individuals that I just mentioned, maybe you have a friend, or maybe you just want to put this information in the back of your head and bring it to the forefront sometime in the future. Now, something I have really been, or a phrase that I've been using, is the power of YouTube. And I say it that way because it's a powerful tool, but it's really good at finding your audience. So YouTube, like many other social media platforms or platforms out there, they want you to spend time on it. They want you to spend time on it. They want you to engage in content. They want you to find similar channels, find content that you like. And so with that in mind, it's trying to find the perfect viewer for your content. It wants to find that person, that all the things I just mentioned, and it wants to, on top of that, make sure that this person comes back for new releases. So once it finds that profile, that demographic that is really all about your content, it's going to go out and find more of them. And when that happens, it's pretty amazing, because you start to see it happening in the analytics, the demographics, your subscribers, your watch hours. All of a sudden, these just start growing and growing. And you're sitting back wondering, whoa, like, what did I do? Like, did I do something? Like, what did I change? And you start trying to look at, okay, what was this? was the difference between my content? I haven't really been changing anything. Maybe you've just been focusing on making good videos, good content. And the big difference is YouTube has found that viewer that enjoys the type of content that you're putting out there. So that's why I say it's the power of YouTube, is that it does a lot of the work that SEO companies, that small businesses try to do on a bunch of fronts. I can say from experience, and especially with running KIPS, all the small details that go into running an online website, a business that's trying to grow in a global market. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of things that you're not going to see in any type of health, wellness, or fitness certification. And so YouTube, it does a lot of that. And that's why it can be a great business model for some out there. And with finding this new individual, it does take time because YouTube, it's gathering data. And so there isn't really it's going to take X amount of time. And I know that's something that people don't want to hear. I know that we want definitive answers. We want, how long is it going to take me? Is it, well, if I upload one video per week, after the second week, third week, fourth, or is it 6 weeks, 2 months? What is it? Like, how long does it take? And there is no definitive answer. And a little later on, I'm going to talk about maybe some things that can help, but YouTube is gathering information. It's gathering data. It's trying to become more efficient. And there might be some things, and I always have to put in the might because just like with anything health, wellness, fitness related, it depends. And so there are some things that you can potentially do to help that algorithm, that data collection start up. But I would say that there's other things you want to focus on with content creation and to let YouTube do its thing. If you're in the market for adjustable dumbbells or at-home workout equipment, check out Core Home Fitness at the link in the description. From adjustable dumbbells, multi-function benches, and all-in-one options, they got it all. I personally have their adjustable dumbbells and the glute drive that also works as a bench, and would recommend them to anyone building their home gym or looking for easy adjustable options. The dumbbells, they easily adjust from 5 pounds to 50 pounds just by turning the handle and lock in for your safety. Grab yourself a pair and see for yourself how easy they can fit into your fitness program. If you've been a fan of this podcast, you know that before end of each episode, you're going to hear a promotion for the Naboso Duo insoles. I've been using them for probably a year and a half, and I personally think they're game changers. I think everybody should get them, try them out, see what you think. And personally, I've talked about how I used to have foot pain just from sitting at a desk and then trying to be active, trying to go work out, and not really being able to fully maximize it. So I always try to throw it out there for individuals to just try them out, see what you think, utilize them in your day-to-day, and hopefully improve your overall activity level. That's the key right there, activity level. So check them out. There's a link in the description for the Naboso insoles. They have a variety of them to check out, different accessories. Check them all out, see what you think, and hopefully come back and let us know that they've really helped out with your activity level. Let's get back to the episode. Now, what kind of sparked this episode and the Facebook Lives that I'm going to be doing, and even changed my business model, as I always say in the beginning of the introduction, the two companies that I own, Time to Train Fitness, we are a YouTube-based business. We're a YouTube brand of channels. And I say channels now because we are splitting off into other channels. Because when we first started YouTube, when Time to Train first started, it was actually a website. Then it evolved to focusing just on YouTube. And then now we're taking those individuals on YouTube and we're making them into their own channels. So really evolved over the last, let me think about this, 3 years. I had to look at my date really quickly there, 3 years. And each time I feel like we're getting better and better. I can say from experience that the first iteration of Time to Train, it was expensive. It cost a lot of money and it was very expensive, and the quality wasn't as good as it is now. With switching to YouTube, you could save a lot of money. You can save a lot of time, in my opinion, and focus attention in other places. So with the going to individual channels and individual basis, that has been something where I've seen these demographics, the data. There's 2 channels that I'm going to be talking about right now. One's an active aging channel, so 55 plus community. And the other one's a cycling channel. 2 very different demographics, 2 very different audiences. And I bring that up because you might be one of the people thinking, well, is my audience on YouTube? Is my audience going to be there? And it doesn't matter what your demographic is, what you're trying to do in the health, wellness, fitness space. I can tell you that right now with certainty that I've seen channels that will require $1,000 pieces of equipment, thousands, and yet they are huge channels. I've seen channels that require or that are pool-based workouts with thousands of subscribers. And so that mindset of, I'm not sure if my audiences are going to find me. No, they will find you. That your channel will grow with whatever niche you're in. And some people really do believe in that being as niche as specific is important on YouTube. That having a very specific niche that you're working through, that's the key for it. And I can say that with some with honesty that there is some truth to that. Do I think that you can have a broader channel? It's harder to do that. And with that in mind, so the active aging channel that we have within the Time to Train family, this individual does yoga and strength within the active aging channel and is growing rapidly. And that's why I'm saying that the niching of it, if they were to niche down and just do one type of active aging workout, say chair yoga, would it grow faster? I'm not 100% sure. And I don't know if I could find an answer like that. And some other YouTube professionals might have a different opinion on that. But I can say that being in the active aging demographic, that has really been working well. And so looking even at the differences between active aging demographics, cycling demographics, those things vary. When I look and compare these audiences, you could see drastically the difference in age groups. It's a very different age group with them, which is what you want to see. And even one of the unique items, and I'm not trying to say this one as a negative, but even with the active aging channel, I've never seen there is a statistic within YouTube where you can see the amount of viewers that aren't subscribed. So if you ever watch YouTube videos, sometimes people put in there as hey, make sure that you subscribe. They'll say, I was looking at the analytics and I saw that X percentage of you watching are not subscribers. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. They'll say something along those lines. The active aging channel that we have has a 90% plus. So it's higher than 90% in terms of people that watch YouTube and they don't subscribe in that demographic, which I thought was just fascinating. I didn't think, yes, when you think about it and I say it out loud, it's kind of a negative, but it's one of those things where it's also very fascinating to think about that. You think about that demographic, how can you improve it then? I know that some people that might be new to YouTube, they'll think that, I don't want another account. I don't want to do X, Y, or Z. And the truth is, one, YouTube's free. And the other part of it is that if you have a Gmail account, most likely you already have a YouTube account. And so hitting that subscribe button does not hurt your account at all. And I will say, I'm going to give a story here that I have somebody in my family that was one of those individuals that they do not want to sign into a YouTube account because I don't want to say that there's negative thoughts around it, but when you do sign into your account, YouTube will find other content similar to what you like, which is a benefit. So if you have somebody or you're in that, or you have an audience and a demographic that might be not subscribing as well, maybe sharing more content and say, hey, subscribing, it really helps the channel engaging with it. And don't forget, it's free. If you already have your Gmail account, you can sign in and make it easy. And so those are very unique items within those demographics. On the other end, with the cycling channel, it is more in that 24 to 40 age range, which is very typical to see with, I think, most demographics in general. But it's one of those things where it finds people that likes your channel. And with cycling specifically, that's why every channel specifically should be working on being themselves. That's always one of the big tips that we talk about when I talk about YouTube is letting your personality shine, showing who you are, because people gravitate to who you are. And you think about that when you work in person, it's the same thing. If you're teaching a class, group exercise class, and you show up and you maybe share a story, or you show your personality, people gravitate towards that. People want to know about you. They want to see what you're doing, what you're about. And so it becomes one of those things where you have to try to pull it out on camera. You have to be able to show your audience on camera about you and figure out ways to do that. And so the demographics with YouTube, that leads into the big point of this, of your audience will find you on YouTube. It's one of those things that you don't want to try to rush it. I don't think you can rush it unless you already have a pre-established audience that is going to immediately go subscribe, go hit the subscribe button. But then at the same time, subscribing is great, but you still have to knock out the watch hours at the same time. That's why you want people that watch your content and subscribe. And so I'm going to give you right now, and that's my segue to one of the last things here, is things to not try or engage in. And keeping that same last point there is, we all want subscribers. We all want to see that subscriber count go up, but asking friends and family to subscribe doesn't really expedite the process, especially if this audience that you're asking to subscribe, and if they are actually doing it, if they're not participating in the content. If you can think about it, start to connect the dots from the rest of this episode. If that audience is subscribing, but they're not engaging in it and they're not actually watching the content, YouTube's gonna have a harder time finding people in your audience. They're gonna have a harder time finding that perfect viewer, because all of a sudden all these different demographics are coming in and watching content, but they're not engaging in it. They're not watching the content. It's going to be like, oh, well, I'm trying to find people from this audience and it's not working. That's kind of how it works, is that it kind of skews it. It messes it up. It slows it down. And I say that one, and I know it's a hard one to think about, because, oh man, I want that subscriber count to go up. But really, you want to let YouTube do its thing. Let it find your audience and focus on things like creating good content. How can I make my content better? What are other individuals in my market doing? Let me go watch and see. Let me see where I can pick something up. Let me watch my own videos and see where I can improve. Something that another tip right here that I'm gonna move on to, and I'm gonna try this one out myself, is that increasing frequency of uploads. That's one of the things that I see a lot of different YouTube, growers, people that make YouTube content other than myself. Yes, I make YouTube content on KIPS for people wanting to make channels, do online workouts, and increasing the frequency of uploads. And that's one of the things that I've kind of tested over the last few months with these different channels. Is we have a little bit of older content as we're migrating it over to these individual channels, is that doing, instead of one upload, 2 uploads, so doubling the uploads. And I've actually seen some pretty good results with it. I feel like the data is coming in quicker and people are finding them, and they're being able to watch and do multiple workouts. And that's part of the benefit of our field of health, wellness, fitness. If you're doing online workouts, a big benefit usually is the watch hours, that you can really knock out the watch hours quickly, because people that engage in your channel, watch your content, they're most likely doing 25, 35, 45-minute videos, all staying on your channel. And that's one of the big things that some channels have a hard time with, is getting that watch hour time up. And so you're able to create content that's longer, that people stay longer for. So increasing that frequency of uploads, while of course maintaining content, the quality of the content, focusing on those items, it could be a nice little jolt to your channel to potentially get the audience more dialed in. That's something that I'm testing. And it's one of the things that I'm not 100%, I'll admit, I'm not 100% sure on, but I think it could be a great way to help that algorithm, help that data come in. And then the last one I have on here that I've seen some pretty good, and this is another one over the last few months that I've been testing out, is uploading shorts, or AKA reels. So on YouTube, they call their reels shorts, their YouTube shorts, and they're essentially the same thing as Instagram reels or Facebook reels. And I actually do use the same content for each of them. Sometimes you have to adjust the music for it because they don't have the rights for it, whatever that might be. And But it's the same thing. It's a frequency of uploads, but it's a different way that some people access your content. And in that, tying this to the demographics, potentially your demographic doesn't watch those. That's been one of the things that as the data has rolled in, you could see what your audience likes to view, not just with your channel, but with other channels. And you'll see, oh, wow, they don't watch shorts or they don't do lives. They just watch uploads. So that can help you tailor your potentially your schedule of what you're releasing. But uploading shorts is a great way, in my opinion, to gain subscribers. If you're making entertaining content that's around your channel, that helps your channel grow, people are going to subscribe. And it has to do with quality. I got to say that right. It has to do with quality and the quality of content that you're making. So engaging, making stuff that looks good, making stuff that sounds good, all things on that line that they're going to enjoy and they're going to entertain and potentially watch more than once. So that has been this episode on letting your YouTube audience, letting YouTube find your audience. I can't even read that properly there. I hope it's been pretty informational, and hopefully it's been informative in a way that either helps you continue growing your channel or helps you potentially look at growing a channel, starting a channel, and adding that to your business. As always, thank you for listening in and potentially sharing it with another health, wellness, fitness professional. But until the next time, I'll see you then.